What we're dealing with right now in these lockdowns, it's affecting people in a range of different ways. It's affecting people mentally, it's affecting people physically. Some of you are being impacted in business. Some of you are being impacted at home. Situations like this, it impacts us in different ways. So what I'd like to know from you is, what is actually coming up for you? So I think it's important whenever we're dealing with any situation, is we've got to identify what the problem is. And again, it's not that we want to be focusing on our problems, but it certainly helps to know that you've got a flat tire if your car's not operating at its full capacity, if you need to change it in order for it to operate and function at full potential. And so that's why I asked the question, like, what's coming up for you? And I think that's an important thing that we should be doing on a regular basis. One of the things we're going to be talking about today is routines. And one of the most important routines that, I find myself engaging on a regular basis is self-auditing. And so whenever any area of my life isn't performing, the first thing that I find myself doing is identify the problem. Okay, so what's the problem here? There's got to be a level of acknowledgement that there is a problem before you can actually get into doing anything to be able to fix it in the first place. Because otherwise we could be spinning our wheels. Otherwise we could be doing things that make us feel good, but it's not actually resolving the energy that is underlying. But if you're just rolling through this situation and you feel a certain way, but you're going, well, I don't know what the problem is, I just feel this way. Okay, that's where it's going to take some time. Okay, and some awareness and some introspection and reflection, because there are some of us that don't want to look at what our challenges are because of how they make us feel. Maybe they bring up shame, maybe they bring up guilt. Maybe for some of us they bring up levels of embarrassment. But it's important for us to be able to identify the problem before we do anything else. We've got to look at our perspective, and our perspective is fundamentally what drives our reality. And your reality is governed by a frame, and inside of that frame is your life, okay, and how you view it. And for some of you, you've got beautiful mountain ranges. Some of you have a nice sunrise. Some of you are sad because there is a sunset. Some of you like it because it's a clear day with a little bit of cloud, but some of you are upset because that cloud is going to be turning into storms. Every single day, every single one of you is having a frame war, okay? You're going into a frame war, a frame battle. And some of you are dealing with old frames and old perspectives, okay? And you're trying to integrate them with new frames and new perspectives, okay? But what your job is to control the frame, okay? Or frame control your reality. So how do you control the frame in your reality? So let's start looking at mental routines. First mental routine that you should all be either engaging in, if not just finding some way to connect with, is some form of meditation or mindfulness. That to me is probably one of the most important routines. The second mental routine's around information consumption. So information consumption for me is a routine. I do it every single day, multiple times a day. I consume information. And one of the things that I've had to become aware of is the importance of consuming the right information. What type of information am I consuming, and how does certain types of information affect my performance? Because I got to the point where I was consuming so much news, I was being affected by other influences. I was dreaming about shit that wasn't mine. I was being affected at large. And I would say for the most part, when it comes to news consumption, I was being affected negatively. And so what I had to do after a self-audit was go, okay, what information do I actually need that's actually going to be of service to what I'm trying to do here? Another important mental routine is writing, journaling. As a mental routine, journaling is an incredibly powerful way to not only self-audit, okay, and self-reflect, but also clarify, thoughts, clarify problems, but in some cases just get shit out. And this is why journaling is an incredibly powerful aspect and an incredibly powerful routine that helps you resolve feelings. Whenever you are journaling, one of the most important aspects of this routine that I've discovered is when I'm feeling angry, is to feel the anger. Is when I'm feeling sad, is to feel the sadness. Whatever I feel, here's what I've learned. The most therapeutic way I can deal with any emotion when I'm releasing it is to allow myself to feel it. Okay, and allow it to come up and allow it to be felt and acknowledge it for what it is. And by the way, it's in these mental routines, whereas in most cases you're going to have, a lot of feelings coming up. But my question to you is, when was the last time you gave yourself permission to feel? When was the last time you gave yourself permission to feel sad and not feel like you were doing something wrong? When was the last time you gave yourself permission to feel angry and not feel like you shouldn't be, or be ashamed or guilty that you got angry? And this is what I would really like you to understand. When it comes to the resolution of emotions, one of the most important ways that we can resolve emotions is by allowing them to complete their cycle. because emotions by design are transient chemicals. They're released from the brain, they go into the body, and once that energy is consumed in the body, it's dispersed. But oftentimes that energy gets trapped in a loop, it gets trapped in a psychological loop, and it can get trapped in energetic tissue. Okay, and when you've got stuff that's trapped in energetic tissue, before you know it, now it's getting repeated over and over and over and over and over again. And so when we're looking at any form of mental routine, okay, when we're looking at any form of therapeutic routine, it's really important to understand when we're regulating, we're not repressing. Okay, and part of the therapeutic process is allowing yourself to experience that, allow yourself to feel that, because if you don't allow yourself to feel that without judgment, okay, if you don't allow yourself to feel that with a great degree of unconditional acceptance and self-love, okay, chances are you're going to repress that. And whatever we repress, if you're repressing anger, if you're repressing sadness, okay, if you're repressing resentment, whatever you repress, you will end up expressing in some unhealthy way. And so our goal is to learn how to express emotions in healthy ways, in healthy dynamics. And that's what a great relationship will do, whether it's a friend or a partner, a soulmate or otherwise, is they will create a safe place for you to express all of your light, all of your dark, okay, and not feel like that someone's going to put a label on you, okay, or put a perspective on you that's going to tarnish, who you are at your core, which is, an incredible human being. Being able to express is one of the most important aspects of self-healing. All right, physical routines, exercise. I don't know about you, but I have discovered that exercise is probably one of the most potent ways to change my state very quickly. And here's what we know. Exercise is more effective than antidepressants. What else do we know that's also more effective than antidepressants? Cold exposure. Cold exposure is another physical routine that I encourage every single one of you, to do your form of cold exposure. When I do a cold exposure, I come out feeling amazing, feeling sharp, feeling turned on. Another routine that I think is incredibly powerful is nature bathing. Okay, and this is huge in Japan right now. It's one of the things they've identified is those who take long walks, or was it a 30-minute walk in nature every day, were X number of times less likely to experience depression, okay, and X number of times less likely to experience mental health issues, just by being exposed to nature. I can see every single one of you engaged in a routine that is exposing you to, artificial light, okay, artificial air, or contaminated air, or recycled air. Okay, my question to you is, how many routines, or what routines do you have that are actually, connecting you with nature? And also yoga. I think yoga is an incredibly powerful physical routine that, when done consistently over a period of time, has a very strong set of benefits, a very predictable set of benefits. And this is the thing, every single one of these routines, when practiced consistently over time, has very predictable responses. It has very predictable outcomes. Every problem you've got in your life right now is serving you to a point. And at some point, the service stops, and it stops being of service, and it starts being of detriment. It starts being of deficit. Your goal is to become self-aware of when that happens. Chances are, unless you self-assess, you're not going to want to stop repeating that behavior. I think it's a fair question. Why do people continue to engage in destructive behaviors? Because on some level, they're getting certain needs met, whether they be addictive needs, psychological needs, physical needs, intimacy needs. On some level, they're getting certain needs met. The question is are you aware of what those needs are? Okay, and have you identified routines that you can use to either substitute or resolve what comes next? But I just want you guys to know you're not alone, okay? We are in this together, and whether this lockdown goes on for another 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years, there is a way through this, and a way beyond this, and a way out of this. You've just got to find the right perspective. Has this been helpful? My name is Kerwin Ray. I love you to bits. From me to you and everyone in here, thank you so much for what you do. You guys are amazing.